Let's do this. Welcome to The Script, a podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. His real name is Cardale Jones. His friend is not here. Beanie Wells is off. All right, so that means Cardale. By the way, I'm Dave Holmes. It means a lot of talking today. You ready to shoulder the load? You're going to get a lot of reps today.
You know what? I'm used to carrying it, man. So let's do it. Let's do it.
What's really going to be tough is the social media team might actually have to acknowledge that I'm on this show. Do you notice when they put the clips out on social, it's a lot of Beanie. It's a whole lot of Cardale. No one even knows. 100 years from now, no one's going to know I even hosted this show.
You know what? The great part about it is usually the magic is happening behind the scenes. And like they don't know. We kind of do some of the work, but you really get us over the goal line.
I appreciate that. When I fish for a compliment, you throw it in the boat. I appreciate that. All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. Let's start, though, with the big news. Julian Sayin officially QB1. On Monday, Ryan Day made that official. He said it is Julian Sayin against Texas on August 30th over Lincoln Kienholz. I want to get your general reaction. We're going to pick this apart, Cardale, from 10 different angles, but your initial reaction to Julian Sayin getting the start against the Longhorns.
First of all, congrats to Julian. I've been in that situation before about, going through a quarterback battle and being named the guy and now turning your mindset to getting ready for the game versus trying to win a job. But I think from the very beginning, I think this coaching staff was able to handpick Julian to be their guy. When they recruited Lincoln a few years ago, they still had a lot of great quarterbacks in that room. So it was almost a feel of hey, let's just take one more just in case, like we lose guys to the portal. But I think he made that decision a lot harder on them once he got here because of his work ethic and his ability to really play the quarterback position at a high level. I'm not 100% sure what all went into their decisions as a decision maker to go with one quarterback over the other. I've been saying it from day one. I think this team is in good hands with both of these guys behind the quarterback position. And then you look at some of the comments, a lot of their teammates, like guys like Jeremiah Smith and the running backs, and everybody been saying about these guys throughout the whole, 7 to 8 months leading up to the decision. It seemed like everybody was comfortable with whatever decision they was decided they're going to make. And like I said before, the great part about being able to start a young quarterback or any one of these guys with the lack of experience that they both have, but more than capable enough with the talent, is that you're surrounded by a lot of great athletes and a lot of great players, and we're not going to put you out there and say, go out there and be Superman.
We got the chance to talk to Lincoln and Julian a couple weeks ago when camp opened. We haven't talked to him since the decision. I am quite confident in my guess that Julian Sayin agrees with this decision, and Lincoln Kienholz probably doesn't. So, Cardale, you've been on both sides of this before. You've been the guy who's named the starter, and you've been the guy who was named a backup. How do you cope with it when you clearly disagree? As a competitor,
of course,
I'm confident that Lincoln's not agreeing with this. Now, Ryan said he handled it well. He had a great day of practice. He's mature. He's a leader. But he doesn't agree with this, I'm sure, because he's a competitor. So how do you move on if you're Lincoln?
I mean, it's a thin line right there because as the competitive side of you want to be the guy out there, right? And then you also, when you're going through that battle with another guy who's trying to do the same things you're trying to do and who's both unproven to this point of their college careers, you guys are going through a lot of the similar growing pains together. I mean, certain days I know days I went to spring practices, one day one guy looked great, one day another guy didn't look so great. And then, you saw both of them comforting each other and really pushing each other. So that relationship builds on that side of things outside of football. But yeah, it's not a great feeling. I guarantee you Lincoln is a kid that, he had every excuse not to be here right now, right? With bringing in Will last year and everything, and Will and Julian last year and everything that was going on the last 3 years, especially after his the game versus Missouri a few years back. He had every excuse not to be here, but he's a competitor. And that mindset is just changing now, hey, trying to be the starting quarterback to, hey, how can I continue to help this team win games? And if his role is the backup for now and be the best potential scout team quarterback to get our defense ready for each and every week, I'm pretty sure he's going to take that challenge just like he's taking the challenge. He's out there going to get ready for Texas.
Okay, so Lincoln Kienholz tried to be the guy for 3 years and worked hard, and he's still not the guy. Devin Brown stuck around when a lot of people thought he might leave early, and then he eventually did. So is there a big picture conversation here, Cardale, as opposed to homegrown players versus transfer players? Because Will Howard comes in, gets the job. Julian Sayin comes in, gets the job. Is there any concern, if you're Ryan Day, that you might lose some of these kids who are with you from age 16 or 17 because once you get in here, they're just going to go find the next guy outside the program?
I think it matters what you're doing when you're of those young ages. I think St. Clair is the young guy in the room now, and if he's going to show promise in the next year and a half, potentially 2 years, with Julian being a guy and potentially being his backup in the near future, then I think that transition is easy for him to potentially walk into the starting role or battling for the starting role. Ohio State is not a place where no matter how long you've been waiting, how long you trying to be here and quote unquote wait your turn, that they're just going to hand it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the position at the quarterback position, you're going to have to go in there and even they bring in another guy, you're going to have to battle for that spot, right? So I think in a great part of Ohio State, we have a young quarterback that we're going to at least have for another 2 years if everything goes right and stays out the transfer portal and everything like that. It can be a place that's known to develop their young guys to be the guys to take over when the time is ready.
A couple years ago, Ryan waited a long time when it came down to Kyle McCord against Devin Brown. And I know a lot of Ohio State fans were saying, well, that's because they're both so good he can't decide. And I said, what if neither one of them is completely ready and they're not separated? And I think maybe over time that was probably closer. Are you concerned that neither guy separated in spring? Summer, you're a little bit off. It's more workout. Into fall camp, are you concerned at all about that? As far as, am I making sense there in the question that neither guy separates? It's the old adage, if you have two quarterbacks, it means you have zero.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I think it can be a situation where you think you're going to go with the safest pick, not the best pick.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I don't think this is one of those situations with Julian and Lincoln, because like I said, you hear how the teammates talk about these guys. Lincoln being an Iron Buckeye throughout the summer, and then Julian coming in and doing everything right since he stepped a foot on campus. It's not a situation where you're just like, okay, well, hopefully this guy can get it done. I think they were really in a position where you was like, man, both of these guys give us something different to the offense. Maybe I like what Julian gives more.
Yeah, and no doubt Lincoln Kienholz athleticism is a big advantage. And even when asked point blank, would you have a couple plays or packages for Lincoln Kienholz, Ryan Day said, basically, yeah, that's possible. He's not going to say anything more than that. Yeah. I think Lincoln's going to play at some point. You're a testament to the fact that you need multiple quarterbacks for sure. The one thing, though, is I think sometimes when we talk about Lincoln's athleticism, Cardale, I think we kind of shortchange Julian in that he's not the athlete Lincoln is, but he can move enough. And I think nowadays you have to be able, it's the old Tom Brady adage, you got to be able to move the pocket, which is a way of being slightly faster than some of the defensive guys. But do you think Julian's got enough athleticism to still make people at least miss or buy some time?
Oh, for sure. I mean, from what I remember from him out of high school, he was a really good dual threat quarterback. Mm-hmm. But, clearly he makes his bread and butter by destroying you from the pocket. Like I said before, the good thing about both of these quarterbacks is they're similar, but they're so different. Mm-hmm. Both of them can get it done on the run, inside out the pocket, and both of them can be guys that sit back there and pick you apart.
Yeah. Okay, so other camp news going around the NFL for our former Buckeyes. Let's talk about some of these guys who just got in the league, some of these rookies who are making noise already. TreVeyon Henderson with the New England Patriots. I don't know if you saw how quickly he flashed on that kick return touchdown.
For sure.
I mean, he was a track star coming out of high school. He's still a track star now in the NFL. He's in a bit of a battle with Ramondre Stevenson there to get first-team carries. How do you think it's going to shape out for TreVeyon Henderson with the camp he's having with the Pats?
Really good. I mean, honestly, what Trey coming from pretty much his second half of his career at Ohio State, a 2 running back system, I think that will actually fit him best, taking some of those hits off his body. And then we saw when you had a productive guy like Judkins come in over the last year at Ohio State and what both of those guys turned out to be for Ohio State. And that can be easily replicated with the New England Patriots. And then you look around the NFL period, you usually have 2 guys. It's not many situations where you have one guy who's taking the bulk of the load. I mean, there's not many Derrick Henrys out there, right? Mm-hmm. There's not many. Who else is a guy that I can think of?
Saquon does it.
Saquon carries it. Exactly. Yeah. So it's not that many guys out there that you're looking at an individual rushing performance that's up in 13 to 1,400 rushing yards a year. You got multiple guys on teams that's right around that 900 to 1,000. You look at what they did in Detroit.
Yeah.
Right. And Detroit is a perfect example of that. I think the Patriots can replicate that as well.
Yeah. If he can do what Jahmyr Gibbs has done, I mean, that'd be a pretty good start.
Gibbs
to his
Montgomery.
Career. Yeah. So in Kansas City, good battle here going on. It looks like our guy, Josh Simmons, could end up being the left tackle for Patrick Mahomes. Now, Cardale, there are certain security guard jobs in the NFL. Being Patrick Mahomes left tackle would be a big deal. Do you think our guy's ready for that in year 1?
You know what? I think so.
He better be.
Josh, going back to his high school days and going back to when he got in the portal from San Diego State and making his way to Ohio State, he was one of the most sought-out guys in the portal. And you look what he was doing with Ohio State up until he got hurt. I mean, the guy still went first round and we played, for 3.5 games.
Yeah.
That will probably be the most important position out of all the rookies who may hear their name in a starting lineup in the NFL this upcoming year, of protecting pretty much the best player in the NFL right now, Patrick Mahomes, especially his blind side. I think Josh is ready for that. I think with him coming off his injury last year, he had more than enough time to get his body acclimated to the NFL, and he's pretty much performing at a high level right now in the preseason. You hear some of the stories coming out from Kansas City about him, just raving about him. The thing about that division is, well, they got some great pass rushers.
Yeah.
But Josh really excels in protecting the quarterback. Not as strong in the running game blocking, but I mean, the Chiefs are going to throw the ball probably 40 times a game anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you think the Broncos could have arguably the best defense in the NFL. Then you have Max Crosby. He's going to get a couple times a year. He's going to get tested.
Yeah.
He's going to get tested. All right, meantime, down in Tampa Bay, Emeka Egbuka getting tons of reps with Chris Godwin still on the shelf. And Emeka's showing out. He had a preseason touchdown. And it's funny because the way Emeka Egbuka is viewed in Ohio State history is like he was this really good player, but he was this odd player because he was really never the true number one alpha at any point on his own team because of the guys he played with.
Yeah.
But you get him to the NFL, and Baker Mayfield can't say enough good things about him. I mean, they are in love with him in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, he's walking in a Tampa Bay situation, especially when Godwin get back healthy. Very similar to Ohio State.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of attention was headed throughout his career with Olave and Garrett Wilson and then Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then those guys leave, and then you got Marvin Harrison and Jeremiah Smith taking a lot of attention off, and you look up, this guy got 180 receiving yards, and he got a touchdown, and they actually handed him the ball a few times out the backfield. You just like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
So he's in another one of those positions, and that's why I love him going to Tampa anyway, with those guys, with Mike and Chris kind of on the back end of their careers, always been great guys to the younger players. Man, Emeka is going to really be in a position to learn from those guys for another 2.5, 3 years and literally be the guy right when his contract year is pretty much right then and there for the taking. So I look at things in the big picture for him. I view him being a solid weapon for these guys this year, especially if Chris get back to being the player that we all know he is. I mean, Emeka easily can rake up, anywhere between 700 to 900 yards this year.
Yeah.
Like subtly.
Yes.
Like you look up, like, wait a minute, he got 900 yards. He almost got 1,000 yards.
He's got 72 for 900.
Yeah, he's the third receiver on a depth chart potentially. Yeah. So that's the type of guy he is.
Yeah, the other big news coming out of camp, Quinshon Judkins will not face battery charges. Those charges have been dropped. Now, he's still not signed. And some reports are saying the Browns might wait to see if the NFL jumps in because he could still be suspended for player conduct, even though the charges were dropped. But I am a big believer in this, Cardale, in that so often we in the media, when accusations or charges are about to happen, it's on the front page. And then when they get dropped, it's on page 13.
Yeah, no one is talking about it.
Exactly. So we want to do our due diligence here and point out they were dropped. But at the same time, he still has a bit of an uphill battle before he becomes a meaningful player for the Cleveland Browns.
For sure. And we talked about this about a month ago on the show when we said, hopefully the due process works out for everybody involved, and it sounded like it did. And hopefully everybody can put this behind them sooner rather than later, so he can get back to doing the things he loved to do, and Cleveland can get back to drafting him and preparing for the running back they know they have in him. So that is another interesting part. You look at the situation that was going on in Cincy with Stewart and not being signed until later on, and some concerns there now. And I think the Browns are going to really take their time in this situation because they're in the driver's seat, right? They don't have them signed. They want to make sure the NFL, like you said, the NFL don't come in and say, okay, well, you're still banned or suspended for 6 games. Right. What does that do to them? They're going to have to go out and make some roster moves, right? Because he's still going to be a part of this team this year, just win, right? And that all depends on what I have to do in the preseason with the roster moves to fill that gap in a running back position. And it's a lot of things up in the air. So I'm glad that this is all behind them legally. And hopefully, they can get a decision here sooner rather than later to see so the Browns can see what they got in a football player. Yeah, just a reminder, next week, we're going to have 2 shows for you. We're going to drop our normal show on Wednesday. That's going to be big because we're getting ready for Texas. But then next Friday, we are doing a live show if you're here in Central Ohio at the Ozone at Riverwatch Tower. Make sure you join us next Friday. That's going to be at 5 p.m. But we're just getting started here on The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Coming up next, Cardale, I'm going to turn you loose. You ready? You ready to talk Michigan? Are you ready to blister the NCAA? Here we go. All right, let's do it. That's coming up next year on The Script.
If you love Wendy's classic Frosty flavors, we have got some big news for you. There are all new Frosty Swirl and Frosty Fusion flavors. So, yeah, it's the same creamy treat that you've always loved, now with a flavor refresh. So what are these new flavors?
Well, Stoner, thanks for asking. There are a lot, so I'm just going to list them, okay? We've got the Frosty Swirls, strawberry, brownie batter, and caramel. Then we've got the blended Frosty Fusions, caramel crunch, Oreo brownie with swirl thick brownie batter sauce and crunchy Oreo cookie pieces, and Pop-Tarts, strawberry with a street strawberry sauce and chunks of crazy good Pop-Tarts pieces.
You know your flavors. Not to mention that, yes, you can still get your classic vanilla. Try them all and find your favorite.
Are you going to be a strawberry swirl girl, a caramel craze fanatic, brownie batter buff, Pop-Tart strawberry fanatic, Oreo brownie stay?
These are all really, really good questions, Mark. Anyway, whatever flavor you're craving, odds are we've got a Frosty for it. So check in for sweet treat time with Wendy's all new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic, gotta be Wendy's.
Welcome back to The Script, podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Condensed show today, just Cardale Jones and me, Dave Holmes. Make sure you follow us at The Script OSU. Subscribe to us on Apple, YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. All right, Cardale, it is time to turn you loose. I saw you post something on Twitter. It's still Twitter to me. I'm sorry.
It's still Twitter. I can't call it
It's
Twitter.
always going to be Twitter. I saw you post something on Twitter this week reacting to the Michigan sanctions and the punishment. And it blew up, as a lot of things do when you stick your neck out there.
Yeah.
So let's go through a couple of these things. For people who have been living under a rock, last Friday, the NCAA finally came down on their final punishment. Sherrone Moore gets another 1-game suspension. That's next year. Suspended in 2026. He already has 2 games this year of self-imposed. They're going to face a big fine. We don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be 10% of the football budget, 10% of the scholarship budget, 2 postseason revenues. It's maybe 25 to 35 million when it's all said and done, and that would be the biggest fine in the history of the NCAA. Exponentially bigger than any other fine. So they are stinging them in the pocket. There's a couple other things we're going to get to in a minute, recruiting, Harbaugh, Connor Stallions. But first, let's just talk about Sherrone Moore getting 1 game next year, 2 games this year. Like, I feel like we are just slowly ripping this Band-Aid off, Cardale, and we're letting them, like, just disperse their punishment all over the place.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with the punishment, and like I said, this is not about Michigan. We all know what you guys did. It's over, it's done. I think it's more so about the NCAA and their inability to consistently hand out punishment or discipline. Like, I think the biggest thing about the NCAA when it comes to consistency is they're inconsistent. So yeah, this scandal happened 2 years ago, and we finally get in a ruling. I have so many questions of why did it take so long? Why is it so lightly? We have punished other people for less, way harsher. My biggest argument, my biggest issue with this whole thing, and I'm not on the bandwagon of taking their national championships away, and I'm not on that bandwagon.
You don't want them to give it back.
I'm not on that bandwagon.
Okay.
Do I think some of the things they did helped them get there? I do think that. But at the end of the day, they still won those games in the playoffs. You can't take that away from them. But the biggest thing is this. The punishment don't fit the crime at all. And that's my main argument with the whole thing. Like I said, I'm not for to take the championships away and all this other stuff. And then you get bigger punishments to Harbaugh, a guy who never intends on coming back to college football anyway, especially in the next 10 years. I mean, he's going to be up $90 million in about 4 years. And if he continue to do well, he's going to get a new contract with the like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. So Jim Harbaugh, what Cardale's referencing, he got a 10-year show cause, which means if anyone tried to bring him back to school, you'd have to show cause of why he should be reinstated. It's not going to happen. Now, he already had a 4-year show cause because of the recruiting stuff. So now Jim Harbaugh could not return to the college game until 2038. At that point, I believe he'd be 74 years old. So basically, this is a lifetime ban for Jim Harbaugh. But like you're saying, Cardale, these are things that just look good on paper, but everyone's like, he was done anyway.
It's done.
He was done anyway. Then Connor Stallions, the man at the center of the sign stealing, gets an 8-year show cause. Okay, Connor Stallions was unemployable after this. All right. So like giving Connor Stallions an 8-year show cause, Cardale, that'd be like me saying, hey, you're not allowed to date Rihanna for the next 8 years. He'd be like, you know what? It probably wasn't going to happen anyway.
It wasn't going to happen. And I think if you really wanted to I mean, like I said, he's unhireable at this point because of what happened in the advanced recruiting tactics that he participated in. I think if you really was going to make it that bad, I mean, just give him a lifetime ban.
Yeah.
Right. Make it sound better.
Make it
than
sound
what
sexier than what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because, we have so many questions about the NCAA the last couple of years, especially with the transfer portal, with NIL and all the moving parts. And the biggest thing is saying, why is NCAA still around?
Mm-hmm.
What do we need them for? And I think this was an opportunity for them to continue to show why they're relevant and much needed in the landscape of college athletics, not just football. And I think they dropped the ball on that. They completely dropped the ball on showing why and who's still in charge. Because what is this going to do for the next big-time university who can afford a $20, $30 million little fine if it's going to get them a national championship, if it's going to get them potentially put their players in a better position to be to have success on the field, give them a competitive advantage over their competitors, and then ultimately get their head coaches as well and taking all your staff to the NFL with you or to another opportunity. Yeah. What's going to, if I'm a university, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to continue to flirt with that gray line as well because it was just a slap on the wrist.
Yeah. Now, so Ohio State fans are very fired up about this because they think the punishment didn't fit the crime. Like you said, they go back to 2012 and they think about the post-Jim Tressel tattoo type stuff and how they got smacked way harder for that than this.
Yeah, my freshman year.
You could have taven a national championship from you indirectly. That could have been a natty year.
Yeah, for sure. We'd have played Notre Dame as a BCS era. We went 12-0. Usually in the BCS era, the top two teams, the two undefeated teams from pretty much the Power Five would go play for the national championship. And that would have been us and Notre Dame at 12-0 because I think Alabama was 11-1 of the year. And they went out and just smoked Notre Dame. And I think we would have gave them, I don't think we was the greatest team in the country, but I think we would have gave Notre Dame a run for their money and potentially beat them and have an opportunity to compete for a national championship or, being crowned the Big Ten champs. We couldn't do any of that stuff because of things that players did off the field. That's the biggest thing for me. I think what Michigan did was an ultimate slap in the face and a test of the integrity of the game overall versus you look at what Ohio State did back in the day, you look at what USC got knocked for, you look at what other universities got knocked for. Off the field issues, guys were taking advantage of their NIL before NIL was a thing to provide for their family. Chase Young was suspended because he helped, I can't remember the story directly, but taking some money to help his family.
I believe it was for the Rose Bowl trip or something. Yeah,
very small.
It was like a travel benefit so people could watch him play a game.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then you got like the Bush situation years ago. Like, dude, my family needed a house. And you got other situations where people literally putting their livelihoods on the line, capitalizing on their name, image, and likeness back in the day. In a university, in the NCAA, destroyed the university, costing people jobs, taking away Heisman's, taking away all these different things because they did something that had no effect on the game.
Yes.
That's the most frustrating part. Like what Michigan did, it changed the outcomes of big games.
And I'm with you on this. So a lot of Buckeye fans are like fraudulent title. That plays so well here in Columbus. But I'm with you in that they had to win some games on the field at some point.
For sure.
And they did. Here's the problem when you cheat. You don't know how much it impacts. You can't measure it. But I know this, you cheat because you know it helps.
Of course.
And I would say it's the Barry Bonds thing. Would Barry Bonds have been a Hall of Fame player without steroids? Of course. A top 5 to 10 player of all time. But why did he do it? Because it helped him hit 763.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. So that's the problem. Once you cheat, you put it out there that we are going to have to put an asterisk and wonder how much it mattered. I'm with you. And you know what? And to the Buckeye fans, yeah, they beat them fair and square in the shoe last year. Better believe it. Ain't no excuse there.
For sure.
Like, you can't take this 4-game losing streak and just throw it at the sign stealing scandal. It's
no.
You
And that's why I want to reiterate, this is not a hate Michigan thing. This is not because you beat Ohio State 4 years in a row.
Right.
No, but I'm saying you did something that gave you the competitive edge over multiple opponents, and we only know of 2 to 3.
Yes.
But come on, man. And I think another huge issue I have with this, you look at Harbaugh comments to this, you look at their coaches' comments. It's no way you didn't know what was going on.
Yes.
It's no way. You look at other coaches in this situation. You look at when Tressel resigned. You look at when Pete Carroll made the move to NFL, and then everything happened. At least they took ownership. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't condone that, but it's completely happened under my watch. I take full responsibility.
Yeah.
Or I was trying to do this. I should have done this. Oh, I didn't know. No. It's no way in heck The lowest man on the totem pole on paper, Counter Stallion with his title, is standing next to a defensive coordinator in a game, in a heated battle, and he's telling you what is going to happen. And there's no way you're going to say, man, I watched that same film. How did you come up with that? Yeah. Where did you see that? Oh, man, coach, man, I just, like you're sending people. Exactly. You're sending people around the country to record sidelines. You're getting access to the sidelines of other games. Like, what are we talking about, bro? It's cheating at its highest level.
Ohio State fans are mad because, air quotes, the hammer didn't drop. If you thought the hammer was going to drop, I think that was more on your expectations than reality. I never expected them to take away a national title. No. I didn't expect them to vacate wins. I thought they'd be stronger than this and when it came to some things like Sharon Moore or whatever. But anyway, if you're Ohio State fans, you need to take solace in this. If you're a Michigan hater out there, and many of you are, take solace in the fact that there is no doubt on anyone's mind outside of your deranged Michigan fans, your friends, that they cheated. Because you know what? Here's how I know they cheated, Cardale, because Jim Harbaugh said, I can't wait to have my day in court. And then when his day in court happened, he didn't show up.
Yeah,
he accepted a suspension. Sharon Moore has accepted multiple suspensions. Connor Stallions went away. Coaches resigned. Like, we know they cheated. They know they cheated. Everyone knows they cheated. We don't know how much it mattered or how much it helped. And that's the problem. When you take steroids, when you cheat in anything, we can never quantify it. So now you're going to have to live with the fact that till the end of time, people are going to say, you won it all, but you had, and that's on you. But you know what? They also won it on the football field and scored more points when it mattered. So I am really in the middle on this issue as far as like Michigan cheated. We don't know how much it mattered, but they cheated. And if your Michigan friends are telling you they didn't cheat, they're delusional. You know, get better friends. But that's kind of where I stand on it. They clearly cheated, though, and we just don't know what it meant.
Exactly. And like I said, this is not so much about what Michigan did. Congrats, guys. You got away with capital cheating. It's more so the NCAA and not having a better punishment or a better plan to handle all of this. Because you look at what Michigan have done over the last, especially through Harbaugh's tenure there. How many recruiting infractions?
Right.
How many other infractions? I mean, smaller ones, but they add up. Mm-hmm. It was a trend that this guy flirts with that gray line and sometimes step over it. So this is not a program that's just like, oh man, this is a one-time thing. You had other things leading up to this. So if this is the first time offender, maybe I can understand this. Yeah. But I'm not saying you guys, it put in so much question of how often was you guys doing this? Like what you guys did, we have revolutionized and changed the way we interact in a football game now. We're having direct communication in the helmets now.
Okay, so let's move forward here. All right, we love our guys from Buckeye Basement Solutions. If you need waterproofing, crack repair, whatever, Buckeye Basement Solutions has you covered. And they sponsor a segment on our show where we look at a Buckeye Basement solution. All right, so Cardale, what is your Buckeye Basement solution on how we fix the NCAA?
It's easy. Get rid of it. It's easy. Get rid of it. Get rid of the NCAA. I don't see any point of having them around anymore. I know the biggest thing when I was in school, the NCAA wanted to enforce the compliance level of things, but now I'm pretty much compliance in a way-ish is still obsolete because of NIL and things the players are able to do. That's the biggest solution. Get rid of it.
Yeah, because if you are the referee in the boxing ring and you let people bite the other guy's ear, right? Like you had to step in there when Tyson bit Holyfield's ear and the ref did. If you're not going to step in, Cardale, and what is the point?
No, you're going to step in. You're just going to pick and choose when you step in.
Yes, and University of North Carolina, the Tar Heels can get away with this massive academic scandal. Exactly. But then you, like you said, you crush Reggie Bush, you crush Tattoo Gate, and all of a sudden these guys actually cheat the game. I mean, they're not consistent, and they clearly don't have any power. To me, this was like the last dying breath of the NCAA, this ruling.
For sure. And I think, like I said before, I think they had an opportunity to come down. And like I said, I'm not saying take their championships away. I'm not saying vacate wins. But they had an opportunity to deal out a ruling and justice to the rest of the college football world and pretty much college athletics, period, that shows like, oh, crap, the strength has swinging back to the NCAA hands of handling these type of situations. Let me make sure everything is tightened up in my program before they come sniffing around.
Yeah, and I know people didn't want to punish future games because the line is always you don't want to punish the kids who had nothing to do with it.
Of course. And I was part of that.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I definitely did not want that at all.
You felt that. And again, like we're a couple of Ohio guys, so, and we're honestly not trying to come off like Michigan hating. Like I'm with you that I'm more angry about the NCAA's just overall inconsistencies than I am with what happened with Michigan. And yeah, to me, I think the NCAA is about dead here. I think their purpose is long in the past. I think they didn't get ahead of NIL. I think now they're weak on punishment. And I'm with you. I think my Buckeye basement solution is let's just be done with them. Let's just be done with them.
Get rid of them. The NCAA. I mean, last thing, I think my final straw before this was basically NCAA coming out and saying, hey, now the JUCO years don't count against you.
Yes.
Like, what are you talking about? You're going to have, 27, 28-year-olds playing against 18-year-old kids sooner or later.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, that's our Buckeye basement solution. Just get rid of the NCAA. And if you need help with anything in your basement, get on BuckeyeBasementSolutions.com or give them a call, 614-956-4592. Coming up next year on The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes, we're looking at our best bets for Offensive Rookie of the Year. We're going to see how some former Buckeyes could factor in and make you a little money. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Click the subscribe if you're watching on YouTube right now or Apple Pod or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. All right, our friends from Prime Sportsbook have this new loyalty program, calling it Prime Rewards. You can earn points with bets, convert those to bonus bets, more ways to win there with Prime Sportsbook. So we're going to talk about some bets here. First off, though, I want to get your reaction. Texas is a 2-point dog in the shoe. The first number one team to be an underdog in week one. Is that crazy?
It is crazy, but that's tough. I mean, tough situation of them coming into the shoot. It's, as we know, schedules are put out years in advance, but, no one's going to say that Texas is going to be walking in on a reigning national champ Ohio State. So who do you make the underdog? Texas on the road versus Ohio State, or the defending champs and got a top team coming in?
Yeah,
so.
it's a tough draw. It's going to be a fun game. We can't wait for it. All right, so on Prime, if you want to use our promo code SCRIPT when you sign up, they're going to give you a $500 deposit match. Make sure you take advantage of that. We're going to go through some lines here on Prime Sportsbook for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, our guy, TreVeyon Henderson, is plus 1493. We're going to round that off and say he's 15 to 1. So if you bet $10, you win $150 on TreVeyon Henderson. Do you think he has a legitimate chance at being Rookie of the Year? I do want to point out, running backs more likely than receivers. If you're going to bet a position, you want to bet QB first, running back second, receiver third.
I think he had a chance. Because I think he's going to take the more of that load when they come and run out the backfield, especially breaking in a new young quarterback with Drake May. He got a chance, man, and I think you've seen what he's done in the last two preseason games, getting in the end zone. He's a guy that's going to be a difference maker for that team. So.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley's done it. Alvin Kamara, Todd Gurley did it. Eddie Lacy in the last 10 or 12 years. So running backs do hit. More often than not, though, it's a quarterback. 4 of the last 6 have been QBs. So you kind of want to bet on quarterbacks in general here, Cardale, but you look at this class, and it's like Cam Ward, Jackson Dart might mix in at some point for the Giants. So it's a good year if you want to take another position, which is why we talk about TreVeyon Henderson and Emeka Egbuka. Our guy Emeka is plus 2263, so about 22 to 1. Bet 10 to win 220. Emeka Egbuka as a potential Rookie of the Year probably needs Chris Godwin to stay on PUP. Because he's going to need a lot of targets or a Mike Evans injury. Probably needs some luck here to get it, but he's at least in the conversation.
I think he's in the conversation just because of how much Tampa loves him already, and then just knowing that Godwin dealt with two season-ending injuries over the last 4 years. So that can potentially open up more opportunities for Emeka down in Tampa. But I think he got a chance. I think he's not the most favorable receiver in this class to have that chance, because other guys are in number 1 positions versus a potential number 3 position for him. But $10.
Yeah,
$10 wins. Come on, you
okay.
You can afford it.
You can afford 10, but we're not betting on Quinshon Judkins. He's 18 to 1. Do not put money there because, like we said, there's so much uncertainty of when he signs, when he gets in. So we're going to fade Quinshon. If you're going to bet a running back, I'd much rather go TreVeyon Henderson. Ashton Genty, of course, is going to be the guy everyone wants to put money down on with the Raiders because he's probably going to touch it 300 times. Our guy Chip Kelly's there now. I'll throw one other name out here, and to be clear, don't bet this guy. At least not. I'm not telling you to do it. Sheduer Sanders is 28 to 1. We're going to bring him up just because every time we say Sheduer, I can hear the clicks. I can hear those clicks on social. 28 to 1, but Joe Flacco's the starter. So look, I mean, as much as I love the story here, Sheduer ain't it at 28 to 1.
I personally don't think so, but the Browns is going against my advice by naming Joe the starter. I love Joe Flacco, don't get me wrong. I think he's the safest bet, but if I'm the Browns, I gotta see what I got for the future, right? So I'm trying to see what my young guys with Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Sheduer Sanders, I'm letting them fight this thing out all through preseason, all through and getting ready for the season. And I want to lean on one of those guys. So hopefully we see one of those guys earlier versus later in the season when the Browns trying to salvage things and say, hey, this is a wash. Because we all know, I mean, in the beginning of the season, I think Prime had them at 5.5 over and under.
Yeah.
Right. So not a lot of promise, that they have for the Browns this upcoming season. So why not let the young guys play? So if they taking my advice, I feel more comfortable taking Sheduer, at 20, what is it, 22, 2,800?
28-1. Yeah, and the thing is, to win an award like this, you need talent and opportunity. And I think Sheduer might have the talent. We'll see over time. He's looked good in limited spurts. Opportunity, though. I mean, if I'm the Browns, I'm with you. Joe Flacco is fine, a stabilizing influence. But if you're the Browns and this feels like a lost year going in on some level, I know if Beanie was here, he would disagree vehemently right now. But to me, the way this plays out is Flacco's going to get 4 to 6 starts. Dylan Gabriel's going to get 4 to 6 starts. Sheduer's going to get 4 to 6 starts. And Kenny Pickett might get 2 or 3 himself. So to me, I just don't think anyone's going to get the chance to throw the ball 400 times to win an award.
Yeah, potentially. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. So those are the picks we're taking on Prime Sportsbook. Of all those, my favorite's TreVeyon Henderson.
Yeah.
I'm not in love with it, but he's the one that I would probably give the most action on there at about 15-1. Make sure you use our promo code SCRIPT. That'll get you that deposit match up to $500. They've got reduced juice and now this new Prime Rewards program, the Prime Points, to get on there and get some free bets as well. That'll do it for us here on The Script. Reminder, next week, 2 shows. We're coming to your podcast feed on Wednesday. And then Friday, we are live in person at the Ozone Riverwatch Tower. Join us here. We're going to have a fun tailgate. Big guests planned. I'm not going to throw too many names out there, but Jack Sawyer, Braxton Miller, a couple surprises that I think we're going to get nailed down in the next couple days. So join us there, and we'll see you back here next week for another episode of The Script.